Hey everyone, Dan here. We are just after market close on Wednesday, May 26th. Today we're going to do an update on the potential IPOE short squeeze. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And let's jump right in. So right now we're looking at the chart that I was using during the trading day today. Let me just point a couple of things out here quickly. And then we will go look at the stats where the short squeeze data sits at the moment. And then we'll come back to the chart and do a little bit further of a breakdown. But just to give you the short picture of what I was looking at. So on the 2-hour time frame, I've been tracking this longer term channel that IPOE has been in since it was all the way down in the 14s. And it's held this really well. That was back in like just before mid-May. And I noticed this zone that I was paying attention to today because there was all of this previous price activity that at that time was at the top of the channel. And, it used that as a big jumping off point, and then it got very quickly drawn back down to that and support for a little bit, and then was really testing that throughout the day today. So I was looking at that as sort of like pay attention to what happens here if this sort of falls apart and falls through here. Obviously, there'd be a lower bound of the channel below that, but that to me was sort of like something that I wanted to watch closely because I'm mostly in options plays on IPOE, so there's always the opportunity to sort of like lock in profit, and then once the price starts to sort of stabilize and show signs of strength again, like get into that position again. But at that point, you would have locked in the profits from the initial investment, or there's always the opportunity to roll options out to a further expiration date. So that's mostly what I was keeping an eye on here, but it was always going to be with the intention of getting back in unless any of the short squeeze stats sort of fundamentally changed. On the 5-minute, which is what I was actually watching during the trading day, it had developed this channel by about midday today, and I was watching it hold this pretty well, and then it had fallen through. This like blue area that you're seeing here is just that same one that we were looking at on the 2-hour, and so you see it actually fell into that box, and then it held it toward the bottom of that box there. So again, that's the one that we were just looking at here. And so it held the bottom of that box on the 5-minute, which is nice to see. And then it bounced up, even though it fell through the bottom of the channel. And it did the thing that I sort of like always talk about when we talk about channels forming, which is if it falls out of the channel, but then continues to sort of press itself up against the bottom bound of the channel, to me, I treat that as though it's just still following the channel. It's maybe just widened it a bit, but oftentimes you'll see the price action get back into the price channel. Get back into the channel once it's doing this sort of like continuing to follow the bottom bound up. So that's mostly what I was looking at today. Obviously, the shorts did a bunch of their work this morning and tried to push it down quite substantially. I don't doubt at this point too that it's been on such a good ride for the last couple of weeks that I'm sure there's some folks that are taking profit around the $20 mark, so that's not shocking to me either. But let's hop over. Let's come back to this. Let's get rid of we'll leave that there for now. We'll come back and take a look at the 2-hour chart in a couple of minutes. First, let's look at the stats though to see where we are. So IPOE right here is still one of the most heavily shorted as far as like a percentage of the float, over 30% at the moment. It did have a bit of a red day today, but I think that it wasn't anything incredibly catastrophic. In my opinion, I didn't change any of my positions. In fact, I added to positions on that really big dip this morning. On the dollar value, here's some things to start paying attention to. There is some pulling back of the shorts on the like reporting date to reporting date, and the dollar value is sort of like stabilizing here, slightly reducing. So as they start to pull out, obviously that's when you're kind of trying to figure out when has the squeeze been squoze, and that's always sort of like a little bit of guesswork. But as things start to diminish, that will sort of be an indicator that some short selling positions have been closed up and aren't coming back into play for the time being. But this still being over 30%, I think this is still an incredibly valid play. If we look down here, the nice thing about this is this 514 data wasn't in here yesterday, so this just got added today. So here you see, like we said, the small reduction in size, but mostly what we're still playing off of is this enormous jump here, and then these still pretty significant jumps in the 20s that were all plus, 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 plus. This is the first minus since this chart has been tracking it, and comparatively speaking, this 5.4, you could say it sort of accounts for these two reporting dates, but all this positive activity, meaning the shorts increase their position, is still outstanding. And so, again, this is just another way for me to say I still think that there's things here to be squeezed. The daily, you see the ratio of the short volume still staying very, very high, even though the total volume got very, very high yesterday. So did the short volume. So it continued to follow suit, even though the total volume nearly doubled. So did the short volume. So keeping pace at that 25 ratio at the moment, and that's basically what you see in this column. It's at the high end, right? 25. So definitely no pulling back from the daily perspective. Now, here's what kept me in this play. I mean, one of the things that really kept me in this play today, but to me this is the most important thing. The fee today jumped up to 261.6%, and there's only 5,000 shares available to borrow. So if you look here early in the day, which this is a little tough to scroll through because they report every 15 minutes, but it started off already very high, yesterday, and then at open today was at this 261 and just stayed there. So there was no relief on the fee. So these folks are holding a very, very high fee right now. And, like we saw today, the price with IPOE, which one has that? Here, nope, sorry. Here, it did come down 1.83%, but to me, if you're incurring a fee of 161+%, and you're able to ride the share price down to 1.83%, probably not giving you what you're looking for. So you're still in a position where you're holding very, very expensively borrowed shares, and sort of like having a tough time driving the price down in a way that would make it extremely profitable for you to continue to do so. So that's a long-winded way for me to say, with this fee remaining so high, I'm going to be looking for those shorts to close their position. If this price action can probably, even if it moves sideways, but certainly if we have a green day tomorrow, I think that could explode into something major by the afternoon, especially if this fee stays where it is currently. All right, so back to the chart. I do think that these are the things to be looking at in the longer term chart. Holding this channel will allow us to continue to put upward pressure on here. I do think the next thing that I'd like to see happen, just because I would like to see it doesn't mean anything, but getting a foothold, meaning turned from resistance to support here at right about 21. So getting support at $21, that'll be, to me, the next big battleground if we do continue to move up. I guess it'll turn it green, because to me, if we can get support at 21, sort of like the gloves are off and probably a bunch of the shorts are off, and they're gonna have to cover and stop bleeding money, both on the side of things, where the price is going up, but also stop bleeding money with that huge fee that they're incurring to hold. On the indicator side of things, for the 3-month or for the 2-hour chart at least, mid-range on the RSI, so it gives us plenty of opportunity to rise up and get some buying pressure in, nothing preventing that. And on the MACD, of course, we did have a bearish turn today, so the MACD is still riding kind of high, but the stock has been on a tear. So what I'd be looking for is for this to start to flatten out, the bearish momentum to diminish in the after hours, and then in the pre-market tomorrow. And if we can get a bullish crossover, there is still going to be more room to run up, but it is starting from a relatively high point on the MACD itself. Looking at the short term, I would look for it to continue to hold this box. Now that we've seen there's essentially a nice support zone here, and now if it continues to treat this as support on the upper side of this box, it's 1984, that'll give the first launching point toward 21. A little bit more bullish on the MACD for the shorter time frame, but nothing that's sort of like explosive, which is what I'd be looking for, especially if we're going to set off a short squeeze. Mid-range on the RSI, so again, tons of opportunity for buying pressure to still come into the market. Hold the price strong, start increasing the price just because of all of the buying pressure, and then the shorts will start losing their shorts, and we'll need to cover in order to just stop the bleeding, and that will set off in my opinion, a huge potential for a short squeeze, or the potential for a huge short squeeze as people close out that 30% of the float that they are holding short very expensively. Okay, well, good luck if you get into this one or if you have been playing this one. We've been on it for a few weeks now, so happy that, called this one out in the early days and sort of got to see it all unfold and explain why and what was happening along the way. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you sharing these videos if you feel inclined to do so. And I will see you in the next video.